Hello and welcome to Another Look. Another Look. This is a very special episode, Janet, because...
I'm so excited.
Drum roll!
Yes. You know, that sounds awful on the mics.
I know. I'm sorry. The mics are shaking, but we're on the air. On the air. So just for a little background for somebody who's listening that's never listened before, because if you're listening on the air...
Okay, now calm down. I know you're getting a little excited. Slow it down. Calm down.
A little background here. Well, first of all, I'm Dylan Nicholls, the news director here at the River 95.3 Sports Radio 1450. She's Janet Michael, host of the Valley Today.
Award-winning Valley
Today. Award-winning
I
Valley
haven't said
Today.
that for a couple of weeks. I'm
you're entitled to one. And Another Look is our...
Just one? I'm only entitled to one? Okay,
maybe
go ahead. Finish your wonderful want-to-be award-winning introduction.
If I may. Another Look has been our podcast we've been doing this for months now, haven't we?
We've been doing it for a really long time. You just keep talking and feel the air there, and I'll look up on our website and see how long it's been.
We've been doing Another Look for probably a few months now. We've got, last time I checked, it was like 11 episodes. It's probably around 12 or 13 at this point. Episodes up on the website, and it's been very experimental, very fun, and basically what we do on Another Look is take a look at news from across the Shenandoah Valley that's been happening over the course of the past week. We record these on Fridays, and we're recording this on Friday, September 7th. So if you're listening to it on the air, you're listening to it on Tuesday, which is our air date, but you could have found it for the last few days on our website because we record these on Fridays and we put them right up for you guys.
Mm-hmm. Or in the Apple Podcast app, the Google Play Music Store.
Yeah.
So many ways that you could listen.
Yeah, so if you're listening on air, you still get the pleasure of me and Janet's company, Janet and I's company, but you could have had it all along, and we're trying to incentivize you guys. Go check it out. It's on the podcast page on our website, theriver953.com. But it's a great time. Basically what we do is I pick a few stories that I thought were the most interesting that happened around the Shenandoah Valley. Janet picks a few of her favorite stories or most interesting stories because, you know, some of them are tough stories, sad stories, or controversial. And we fill 2 segments doing that, my turn, then Janet's turn. And finally, our favorite segment comes along. We call that one Dumb News, and that's where we just take a national news story. It's usually a very, very stupid criminal.
Yeah, ridiculous stuff that, you know, most people don't really need to know, but didn't know how much they really did need to know it until we tell them.
You never know until you know.
I've learned so much from the Dumb News, which is so sad when I look back on,
I've learned more from the Dumb News than the actual news. I don't know what that says about my quality as a news director.
Oh, I know. 17 episodes, not counting this one. 17? We have 17 episodes on the website.
And 17 is my lucky number. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, I didn't make that up. That's not a coincidence. Although I should start making that up because it makes everything seem special. But yes, 17 is my lucky number. So this is an important episode, you guys.
Yeah.
I want you guys to stay tuned. So real quick, we're going to go through some of the headlines from across the Shenandoah Valley that we're going to cover. Dumb News is a surprise, if you don't know already. We don't reveal that to the end, so hang in there. But, Janet, what did you want to talk about that happened over the course of, if you're listening on Tuesday, last week?
Yes. Well, you know how I'm quite the political junkie. So a lot of the things that I want to talk about involve sort of I mean, we're not going to talk politics, but they're political stories. So Warren County Sheriff's race is heating up. There are 3 people there. Mm-hmm. Jennifer Lewis came into the studio last weekend, and you interviewed her. That was up. Warren County is going to redraw some boundaries, which may throw who's going to vote where, Clark County versus Warren County into it.
Which was a very interesting story because technology's factored in there, and it really kind of gives you an idea of how the whole election cycle works and the whole system functions. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got that. There's protests at the gazebo.
That might be moved from the gazebo?
Yes, that may be moved. Opioid, we may be getting a federal prosecutor in Winchester, which is, pretty important given what opioids have done to our community.
Yeah, a better federal prosecutor's presence in the Winchester area and the Winchester FBI office because, the opioid epidemic has really hit us hard, and they want to reflect that in how they prosecute cases.
And then, we've talked in previous episodes about some of my greatest fears, one of which is being, that eventually one day I'm going to die on a bridge. A bridge is going to collapse underneath of me, and I'm going to die. I think that was bridge or overpass was in that particular episode.
Yeah, look it up, the river953.com.
My second biggest fear is not that I'm going to die in a fire, but that my house is going to burn down when I'm not there, and I'm going to lose all my stuff.
But wouldn't it be worse if you died in the fire? Or is it worse? Are you that much of an American
No, because if I'm still alive, if I'm still alive and all
Yes.
my stuff is gone, that's horrible. I would
shame.
rather go in the fire and then everything is gone and I'm going with it and get to enjoy it all in the afterlife.
Oh, wow. A lot of layers to peel back
there. So there you go, people. There's a snapshot into what this podcast is really all about. It's neurotic.
It's a little crazy, and you're not even getting the full dosage because it's G-rated for the air. But you might get a different story on the podcast, which is, again, another reason to check out the podcast. I did 3 shameless plugs, I think, so far this segment.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about, we had a little overlap because I also wanted to talk about the town gazebo, but my main things were something that, today's Friday, this was just breaking Friday, Front Royal Mayor under criminal investigation.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was pretty shocked when I saw that. Yeah.
We don't have too many details. I really don't think anything new is that major is going to develop in the next couple days until Tuesday. So
if it has, it'll be on our website, and you'll know that when you go there to listen to the podcasts from previous episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's a vicious circle we've got going on here.
Yeah, we keep coming back. All roads lead to theriver953.com.
.com.
See how fast I can say that now? I'm like a trained monkey. And the other thing I want to talk about, and I want to talk about this because this is funny. This has been an issue around my house. We've been having arguments back and forth about this. Warren County has dropped its Front Royal Golf Club litigation. I'm not going to talk about what my personal family squabble is about the whole thing, but very interesting stuff because this has been going on for a while where Warren County wanted to do something about the golf club, which has been losing it money, but there's a deed stipulation, very complicated.
Doug and I have talked about it on Valley Today episodes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a bit of a contentious issue because that's something that affects a few folks very directly on the weekends, and so people are up in arms about it. That public hearing,
I kind of liked, I read that story and thought, that's an interesting, I know where that's all going to shake out. So I forgot to even put that on my list.
So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. So I think we'll start the next segment with you. You want to go first?
I always go first because I'm award-winning.
That's right. So I'll start the next segment.
I'll let you start. Or maybe we'll just bounce back and forth and give, everybody that's listening whiplash.
Whatever happens. Hey, you know what? A little suspense we're building for you guys.
It's called tension.
Yeah.
You have to build tension.
Oh, yeah, we have to build tension. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're building tension here. You, whatever happens, stick around so you can find out. We're going to come right back with some more Another Look.
It's an award-winning lunch hour every day at noon with the News at Noon and Valley Today. Listen live on air, online, or on demand at theriver953.com. That's theriver953.com.
And we're back with some more Another Look, our show where we take a look at news from across the Shenandoah Valley over the course of, if you're listening to this on air last week, we also have this as a podcast. It, in fact, started as a podcast. You can find that on theriver953.com. And if you're listening to that on Friday, September 7th, that's the day we aired it. So you're up to date at that point.
Yeah, it is. What is it they say? It's 5:15 on Friday, September 7th. Yeah. Things may have changed by the time you hear this.
How professional we are. All right, let's get right into it because some interesting stuff broke pretty recently here. Front Royal Mayor under criminal investigation.
What?
Good reaction.
I couldn't help it.
What? Front Royal Mayor Hollis Tharp is currently under, and they specified, criminal investigations over a criminal matter, but they don't have any details beyond that.
Or they do, but they're not releasing them.
They do, but they're not releasing them. So, and basically what happened was, this would normally go to the Warren County Commonwealth Attorney, Brian Madden, but he was recused. And that could happen for a couple of reasons. It could be happening because he is related or married to a relative of the person.
I think that he was required to recuse himself because Hollis Tharp is part of the local government and he is part of Front Royal's
and so that is the
criminal justice system, and there has to be a layer of separation there.
So I wasn't sure about that because the statute in which, or the section of Virginia Code under which they did that has a bunch of different reasons. So that makes sense. So they've essentially given it to the Winchester Commonwealth's attorney, Mark Abrams. He gave no details on the matter whatsoever. He said that he would give basic details of the case if it was actually made into a case and if charges were filed and if it was destined for the court. So it's one of those things where there's no telling.
It could be anything. And Hollis, I think, has said there's nothing. I don't know what they're talking about. This, if they're charging me with something, it wasn't me.
Well,
if I did it, it wasn't me. But
he had a phone conversation with a local media outlet in which he said he had, quote, absolutely no idea what they're investigating. He also said he'd be more than happy to assist in the investigation. He's reached out to people about it, trying to figure out what's going on. But he also made a claim that, in another quote, there's no criminal activity in my past or future.
That's not true.
It turns out that's false because online Warren County Circuit Court records actually contradict that claim and show that he was found guilty of one misdemeanor count of assault and battery. That was back in 1995. Not fair to say that that's any indication as to what this crime might be.
Yeah, the two of them may not be related at all, but when you're convicted of a crime. So to say, "Oh yeah, that slipped my mind," is a bit of a stretch. I would personally say.
Yeah, I mean, and it was 23 years ago, but that it doesn't make you look good.
Were you alive 23 years ago?
Yes, Janet. I was 1 whole year old. All right, so I don't want to hear it anymore.
So this is just kind of hanging out there then until a decision is made to actually charge him with something, I guess?
Basically, they just have to review the facts of the case, investigate. It's tough because there's not really much to talk about here because there's so little details on it. It's just sort of a shock because this is local government. That's one of the highest positions in local government here. So it's shocking and sad to hear about something like this happening, a little confusing.
Yeah. Well, and it seems probably worse when you don't know. You always assume the worst.
Yes.
So you hear criminal investigation and you're immediately thinking of all of the worst crimes out there. And it could be something minor. It could be something that he did because he didn't know that it was, it could be any number of things that aren't as big of a deal. But when you put criminal investigation and quotes around it, immediately thinking, who did he steal from, or who did he beat up, or who did he kill, or who did he, and it could not be any of those things.
Could be absolutely nothing, because the key word there is investigation. So we'll know more when we know more, I guess, is the answer to that.
And I'm counting on you to let me know when there's more.
Well, and this is the great thing that I love about this podcast now show, Janet.
Yes.
Now show is that the stories develop and we get to revisit these.
Yeah.
And just as friends, sitting down talking about them every week. So who knows? Maybe next week this time we'll have something new on this, and it'll be interesting to see what developments come of this. I don't think we'll see anything for a few weeks, but who knows? So now that we've talked about that, I do want to touch on
So you want to segue to golf? How are you going to do? You want a par? Was that a birdie? You want a birdie over to? I've been trying to watch.
To make a golf pun?
I know
that was awful.
I'm failing miserably. I do watch golf.
Yeah.
Well, I don't anymore because my kid used to watch golf, so I was forced to then watch golf while he was in the house. But he's gone, and Tiger Woods apparently is making a comeback. So way to go, Tiger!
I'm kind of amazed by that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. It's so relaxing.
But he's not coming to the Front Royal Golf Course to play. So if he were, they wouldn't be in the problems that they were having, and this whole money issue with the golf course running wouldn't be a problem now, would it?
What problems, you may ask? Oh, well. See, there's the transition.
So awkward.
So we started reporting on this back in July, I believe. Basically, the idea that the Front Royal Golf Course might close. Basically, the Front Royal Golf Course was founded in 1938, and when it was founded at that time, its deed stipulated that the land be used for a public golf course. At that time, residents didn't have that many options. So it's been like that, and around 2005, Warren County assumed control of the golf operations there, but it's been running an annual average deficit of $110,000.
That's taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars since 2010. So, I mean, that's not – if you really think about that, I mean, $110,000, what's that, like 2 school resource officers?
Oh, probably.
Which has been a huge issue recently. I know the Warren County Sheriff's Office has been asking for a drone, I believe. That was a few months ago. We were covering that story. So multiple things just to make it tangible for you guys, because it is a serious issue when it's losing that much money. So as a result, the Warren supervisors, they were been making efforts to actually break that deed.
Right.
Which is a very difficult thing to do, because the deed was actually pretty ironclad, and as the judge said, it's ironclad for a reason.
Right. And it's not like they were trying to break the deed so they could build townhouses. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. They just want to remove the golf course from that. They were still going to keep it a park, but it's a lot less overhead and a lot less expensive to just have it be a park with Frisbee golf or picnic tables, river frontage, that sort of thing, than it is to maintain a golf course and carts and, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, so it's extremely expensive thing for the county to maintain, but people use it. And people were pretty outraged when they heard that it might close, a lot of people, including some of my family members.
Way to go, Dad.
We're not too happy about that.
Papa.
So sure enough, because it's so hard to break this deed, and because it's a legal matter, the judge basically said you need to have a public hearing on this to get the people's voice in here and learn more. So the Warren County sent out a bunch of documentation, letting people know that this public hearing would be happening, letting users of the golf course know this would be happening. We got a packet at my house. And sure enough, people showed up, and there were some people that were pretty outraged and confused. A lot of people expressed confusion as to why the golf course would be targeted when other parks and recreation facilities also do not generate much income. Those were their words. My feeling is that they were targeted because there was actually a specific party that was interested in leasing the golf course property from Warren County, which is part of the reason that they wanted to break this deed and reuse this land. And in sort of the more recent reports, apparently this guy would have potentially created hiking trails, guy or gal would have potentially created hiking trails there, a wedding venue, and a jet ski rental facility on the property.
Well, it's on the river. It's got river frontage, so.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the transition from golf to jet skis. I sort of got mental whiplash because I've just been reading about it. I have yet to get out on the course. So
it is beautiful. I have been out there.
It's really nice. Yeah. So, but that's fallen through because they failed to reach an agreement with this guy. So now they've decided to go ahead and drop their litigation to break the Front Royal Golf Club's deed.
They non-suited it, which means basically they can back out of it and refile in 6 months with no real penalty.
Yeah, if they do it within 6 months, they can go ahead and draw the lawsuit back up again. And they made a point in the news release. Again, this is Friday that we're recording this. You're hearing this if you're listening on air Tuesday. But the news release we got yesterday, basically, they were emphasizing the fact that...
I just got calendar whiplash, but okay, go ahead.
So if you listen on Tuesday, last Thursday, the news release that we got, basically, they were emphasizing the fact that we can bring this back up in 6 months. And frankly, because this has been an issue, because this has been the subject of a public hearing, because this has gotten a lot of media coverage... If anyone else is interested in leasing this land from us and making a move, that's a bunch of advertising to encourage them to do that. So this is basically, they're saying in this 6 month period, someone very well could swoop in. I think they are kind of hoping someone else will swoop in.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But they said in the meantime, County Administrator Doug Stanley was quoted as saying, look, this is your chance. If you really want this Front Royal Golf Club to remain a golf club,
then go golfing.
Don't sit back and rest assured that no one's going to swoop in and we'll be fine. Yeah. Basically, go golfing, support the golf course, and bring those revenues up so that there is no deficit. So the county has no desire at the end of the day to even have this conversation about maintenance and upkeep because there's
and that's what I read into it. That basically and I am a huge fan of Doug Stanley. I think he's a great guy. I think he does an amazing job for the county, but. I basically read the same thing. He and I think Tony Carter was another that was quoted in there that basically said, put your money where your golf clubs are. If you guys are going to come out in droves and say you can't take away my golf course, when was the last time any of you were actually at that golf course golfing? So get in your car, come over to the club, get your clubs out, and go golfing. Show us why this is a good idea to keep it open. So I'm curious to see how that all shakes out in the next couple of months.
It's interesting because it's a real example of local democracy and local capitalism and the
all
market coming together.
Yes.
And so it's basically a bit of a race against time at this point.
Well, and I've heard people, I've had conversations with other business owners from the other side. Their other perspective is that they wish the county would help subsidize their business. So by virtue of the county covering this loss for this golf course every year, they're basically subsidizing a business. So, I've heard from other golf course owners that have said, it'd be nice if the county, chipped in and gave me $110,000 every year to keep my golf course open. It's not, in their mind, it wasn't that different. And I hadn't really looked at it from that perspective, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not quite sure of the equivalency there because I don't know how it's viewed legally and all that. But it's an interesting point, and it does kind of affect local competition too. The other thing to keep in mind is that this was donated to the county in 1938.
Yeah,
and that was when there were not a lot, if any, golf courses around. No other options.
I think there's 7 now.
Yeah, so something around there. So it's pretty incredible how much has changed, and it does kind of bring up an interesting legal question where the deed's concerned too. Like, can we look back at that deed and say it's ironclad for a reason we should respect, or should we look back at the deed and say, well, it doesn't apply to these times?
Yeah.
Is that fair for us to do?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of interesting questions there, but I think we've about exhausted the topic at this point. And I really want to get to your things because you've got an interesting list there. Can you remind everyone what you want to talk about?
So I want to talk Warren County Sheriff's race, Jennifer Lewis, and the conversation that you had with her in the studio that we have video and audio of up on our website.
Jennifer Lewis is a Democratic congressional candidate for the 6th District race, which is happening November 6th.
She is running for current Congressman Goodlatte's seat, who is retiring at the end of his term.
And we talked about a lot of interesting things with her.
Yeah,
and what else do you have there?
And then Warren County redrawing their boundary and how that may throw some, Warren County versus Clark County. Where are these people going to go vote? A lot of mine is political based, but not political in nature. Does that make sense?
No. So
okay. Then just go to break, okay?
All right. So we'll come back with some more another look, and when we come back, we're going to have a Janet segment, and we're going to talk politics. So stay tuned.
It's an award-winning lunch hour every day at noon with the News at Noon and Valley Today. Listen live on air, online, or on demand at theriver953.com. That's theriver953.com.
Welcome back to another look. This is our show where we look at news from across the Shenandoah Valley. It's news in review. We see what's been developing over the course of the last week. If you're listening on air, you're listening on Tuesday because we recorded this on Friday. So this is last week's news in review. If you're listening online, you may be listening to this after we just recorded it and put it up on the website because we put it up every single Friday. So today's date as we're recording this is September 7th. And we're now on Janet's segment, where she's going to talk about the important segment. Yeah,
you might be the news director, but I'm the one people want to hear.
My segment earlier was a practice round. Janet is the queen of coffee, the queen of the Valley Today, and she is now going to give us her take or lead us through a discussion of some political stories you've got there from local politics.
So we're not going to talk politics, but we're going to talk political stuff. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense than what I said before we went to break. So, some of the things that have made the news in the last week and a half is Warren County Sheriff's race. Warren County Sheriff Danny McCrethrin announced some time ago that he was not going to run for re-election when his term is up in 2019. 2019, not this November. The following.
This November is literally everything else.
Everything else. Exactly. And so this is what, kind of cracks me up a little bit because there are now 3 people who have thrown their hat in the ring for the Warren County Sheriff's race, again, in 2019.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, presidents almost don't start this early.
Yeah. And, so I don't know that they're doing, I'm sure they're out campaigning and they're doing some things here and there. They've all released their statements and said, one of them, I think is Jason Poe? There is...
I know we've got Poe, we've got Licklider, I believe.
And Butler.
So,
and they all have various forms of, some are retired law enforcement, some are current law enforcement, some are locals. So they all have their different degrees. So it's going to be, I think, an interesting race once we get into, and I'm going to say it one more time, 2019.
2019. It's a long ways away,
yes.
But we've got some interesting candidates. Licklider, I believe, is retired from Warren County himself. He was a Warren County Sheriff's Office deputy. Poe corporal from the Winchester Police Department.
Yep, but lives here in Front Royal, Warren County, so he's a Warren County resident.
Right. And Butler, you were reading the story. You said from Fairfax. It's been a while since I've covered him.
I think he's here, but he works currently in Fairfax County law enforcement.
And he has got actually a lot of interesting experience. From what I remember from his story, he's actually got human trafficking experience.
Yes.
And actually started a business surrounding lectures on human trafficking because he was undercover for a while working on that.
Yeah.
Very interesting candidate.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was teaching classes at the academy, and several people came up to him and said, you should run for sheriff. And he thought about it and then decided, maybe that's not a bad idea after all.
If you think about it, it's a very diverse field because, you got a high-ranking Winchester police officer. You've got somebody that's been working in the county as a deputy for a very long time and retired and knows the people and knows the area. And you've got somebody that just has like an incredible, interesting background in an issue that maybe does not necessarily apply to this area, but gives them a ton of credibility.
Yeah. It's going to shake out to be pretty interesting if we're not all exhausted by the time we get through the 2018 elections.
I know. Well, I mean, by 2019 November, think of where we'll be. We'll already be thinking of 2020 November. People will be putting their hats in the ring.
Stop. Nope. We're not. I can't get into that time machine. Yeah,
I mean, think about it.
We do Time Warp on Saturdays. We don't need to be talking Time Warp, during this podcast.
Is that how shameless our plugs are getting? Right? We're plugging the music segments now, too. Time Warp on Saturdays.
But we do have elections that are just around the corner in 2018. I want to touch just for a minute on the interview that you did earlier in the week with Jennifer Lewis.
And I want to give everyone an equal mention right now.
That was, because I want you to kind of explain before we talk about that, most people think, we can't pick sides. As the media, we have no opinion one way or the other, but we are required to offer equal time. So I wanted you to kind of explain what you've been working on to make sure that you're reaching out to everybody and giving them the opportunity of equal time, even if they don't decide to take advantage of the opportunity.
No, and I'm not just required to give everyone equal time. I wouldn't want to do it any other way. It just not because it's like the right thing to do, but because it's completely the most interesting thing to do, the most informative thing to do is to give all the candidates equal time. The other thing and the other focus of these interviews is to not approach candidates saying, like, what do you think of what this candidate's doing? What do you think of what that candidate's doing? That's not the goal of my interviews. That's a lot of, popular TV now, and especially in the national media circle. But what we're about is giving the candidate a platform to express clearly to the voters, all of you in the Shenandoah Valley who listen to our local radio station that broadcasts across the Shenandoah Valley, just clear, concise views, politics, issues, everything that's affecting this area that's important to them that they believe is the reason you should elect them. So that's our goal. So we're trying. So far, we've got our first one down, which if you're listening to this on Tuesday, last Sunday before the Sunday before.
Labor Day weekend. It was Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
Sunday is when we sat down with Jennifer Lewis and we aired that interview, that pre-recorded interview, Wednesday. And if you missed it, no fear, it's on YouTube. And we have the audio and the YouTube video up on our website. You just check it out. It's on the news page on the Ripper953.com, and we've got a search bar too. So if you can't find it there, you just type in Jennifer Lewis's name and you'll find the interview. Great interview. And I thought that the interview was very interesting because we got to talk about one controversial thing at the very end, which was the Bobby Goodlatte endorsement, because she is running for the 6th District seat, which is currently inhabited by Bob Goodlatte, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. You might recognize the guy. He's been in the national news a lot with the whole Peter Strzok public hearing and all that stuff. So, basically his son came out and endorsed the Democratic candidate with him being a sitting Republican. He's retiring now, so his seat is up for grabs on both sides of the aisle.
And it was great because you got to ask her that question and you got to get her reaction, which we're not going to tell anybody what it was because we want them to go watch and listen for themselves.
There's
tension.
There's tension.
I can do tension, and I'm not even in the news department.
There's a tease. There's tension. Yes. The only thing I will tell you about it, incredibly candid reaction. Absolutely candid. So very interesting to watch. Very cool to get an insider's perspective on that because that was covered in national media. The Washington Post was covering that endorsement story. So check it out if you can because it's very cool. It's on our website, theriver953.com. But on the other side of the aisle from her is Republican Ben Cline. He's in the House of Delegates right now. And we've been trying very hard, reaching out to him, trying to contact his people. I've called the campaign office a few times, emailed him a few times. If you're listening and you know Ben Clan personally, please let him know I am searching for him.
We want to do the same thing with him that we did with Jennifer Lewis, and the same with Jennifer Wexton, Barbara Comstock.
Would love to do it. And, I emailed his campaign a couple times because after he did the walking tour through, I believe it was Strasbourg, and visited some Strasbourg businesses that Labor Day weekend, or no, it was the Friday before that Labor Day weekend. I read in a story covering that he was also going to do the same thing this week in Front Royal, possibly. So when I heard that, I immediately sent out a couple emails and was just like, if you're in the area, please. So I'm really trying to get these guys. I have been in contact with Jennifer Wexton's campaign. She's running for the 10th district, north of the 6th district that covers Winchester, Frederick area. And she's on the Democratic side. It looks like we're going to be able to have the opportunity to interview her. We're just figuring out the logistics and the timeline, but we're in contact. And with Barbara Comstock, I've also had difficulty getting hold of her, but I've been focused on Ben Cline so much. Right. I haven't been approaching the 10th district nearly as much. So
that's my district. It's more important.
Oh yeah.
And I can say that because
it's going to be a very interesting election because Comstock's numbers are way down.
Yeah.
But is that reflective? Because there's no real national or, I don't want to say credible polling, but there's not a lot of polling reflecting what the 6th district's going to do. And the 10th district, which I didn't realize this, actually stretches as far east as I've got a friend in Lorton who will be voting in the 10th district.
It is a weird.
So you've got some Nova disruption. Nova is more likely to go blue wave than the more rural Shenandoah Valley area. So it'll be very interesting to see how all that shakes out. Looking forward to talking to all the candidates.
Well, and I want to, before we move on to Warren County and their boundary readjustment, potential boundary readjustment, I do want to kind of throw in a plug. We're going to do live election coverage.
We are, and I'm very excited for that. We're going to do it that night. I'm stoked because we're already talking about what stats we want to talk about on air. And the great thing about our election coverage is that it is hyper-local. Yeah. I mean, we are going to be deadlock-focused while the rest of the nation, you'll have your CNN on in the background, and you'll be watching all the results come in. But if you really want to be hearing about what's going on in your district and get that sort of John Keane-level discussion just about the 6th and 10th districts, which you're not going to get anywhere else, we're going to be doing that. We've already hashed out what stats we're going to use. We're going to grab sound bites from our interviews with these guys. And
we've already decided what we're going to have on our pizza that night when we're in here. All the important things.
And it's not even October yet, let alone November. So we're very excited for that, and please tune in. And we're going to be billing it too.
But I may book you as a guest on the Valley Today so we can talk about it at some point in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a very coveted seat because I'm booked through October. But anyway, so what about these people that aren't going to know whether they should vote in Warren County or Clark County?
So it's do you have the article on this?
Well, of course not. Why would you have the article?
I've got the article.
And you have 2 minutes before we have to go to break. So come on.
I keep forgetting the name of the sanitary district, but
Shenandoah Farms.
Shenandoah Farms Sanitary District.
I don't even have the article, and I know more about it already.
I know. It's 9 homes, 2 lots. And the Shenandoah Farms Volunteer Fire Department don't know whether they're in Clark County or Warren County. They have been under the impression, as Warren County government has, that they have been in Warren County since the 1970s. But they just did some recent global information system technology tests and everything. They actually looked at the area scientifically and realized, wow, they're not actually within that boundary, these people in the sanitary district. So what that means is even if they take legal action, start going through the process of making sure,
basically boundary adjustment.
Basically, Warren wants to make sure that their perception aligns with the legal reality of the situation. So they're trying to incorporate those guys back into Warren County that they thought were in Warren County but turned out to be in Clark. But to do that, they have to cooperate with Clark County. But no matter what, even if they start this off and even if Clark County says, yeah, we're game, this is great, those people are still probably going to have to vote in Clark County precinct. So keep that in mind if you are in the sanitary district, the 9 of you.
And the fire department.
Because that could affect how you vote this November very soon.
Yeah. So, and I will put you in touch with somebody on the Clark County Board of Supervisors that can maybe give you their perspective. If, not that I'm better at your job than you are, but
you're connected, Janet. I just rolled into this town.
So connected. Yeah. So take us to break so we can get to the dumb news.
Oh, the dumb news is coming.
Not that and some people might think we haven't already been talking about the dumb news, but hey, that's to each his own.
That's life. But yeah, we're going to, next up is our dumb news segment. That's where, this isn't Shenandoah Valley stuff, but this is great across the United States stuff. I've got actually an international story for us as well. So we're going to, but it's just the dumbest, mostly criminals that just screw up really badly, really funny stuff. And we have a little competition with this segment where we go back and forth and decide whose is better and argue about it a little bit too. You can be the judge of that. And if you think one is better than the other, text, direct, and connect with us and let us know who you think.
Yeah.
But,
do you know what that number is?
635-4121.
Oh,
yes. So
job.
Be sure to do that when we come back with some more Another Look.
It's an award-winning lunch hour every day at noon with the News at Noon and Valley Today. Listen live on air, online, or on demand at theriver953.com. That's theriver953.com.
And we're back with some more Another Look, our program where we review the news of the week from across the Shenandoah Valley. You're listening to this on air. If you are, then that means that it's Tuesday. We're actually recording this on Friday because that's when we usually do this. This is the first time this has been on air. This is usually a podcast, which means that you can find it on our website, theriver953.com, where we have all our podcasts underneath the podcast page. Or where can they subscribe to this, Janet?
In the Apple Podcast app or Google Play Music Store.
That's right, to get all of our thoughts on the latest Shenandoah Valley news for whatever they're worth, which is probably not much. But all of that is moot right now because the news is behind us, and in front of us is the big, beautiful event that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
That's right. It's dumb news, where we're rid of all the Shenandoah Valley stories, and now we focus on the best national dumb, usually crime stories that have happened. We actually make a little bit of a competition out of this, and we try to see who's got the best dumb story of them all. We call it the big dumb. Janet usually loses. She's a little sore about that. She'll lie.
However, I'm going to so here's what I'm going to do before you hand it over to me. So on our website, all of the previous episodes, we have done sinkholes and fajitas.
That's the name of the episode.
Yes, and that was one that had the...
that was the inaugural,
That was the very first one with the guy who was basically stealing and selling fajitas.
At a prison.
At a juvenile detention facility.
That, just to give you a flavor for what our stories are.
And then there was another one of my personal favorites, No Planes, Poo Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, that poo train story. And guess where the poo train story was? A poo train was... It was literally a train carrying human waste that was trapped on train tracks in, you guessed it, Alabama.
Yeah. And then there was forehead tattoos and the rude dentist.
Too much. The rude dentist was actually a local story.
Yeah. And then there was your personal favorite.
Yeah?
Don't run with scissors.
Oh, good.
You completely lost your cookies.
I actually lost my mind. Yeah.
You lost your mind over that one. That one and Patty and the Donkeys.
We get into hysterics on some of these, and I'm kind of embarrassed that we're doing this on air now, but... I mean, here we go, Janet.
They're worth a listen.
Yeah, you go first, Janet. What's your? Because it can't be the best one, so we might as well just open with it as a soft.
Yeah, well, in mine, I think I've done public service announcement news in the past.
Yeah,
I believe one of my previous dumb news stories was an actual public service announcement from the Centers for Disease Control. You'll have to go look at that one because
we won't get into all the details on that. But yeah,
that might have been the Ganges.
That was the Ganges.
Yes, because you referenced that one earlier.
I don't know what you named that episode, but it was...
I don't... a public service announcement. I think it has something about public service announcement.
Oh, yeah, so look that one up.
So, yeah, in keeping with that, here's another public service announcement of sorts.
Do-do-do. We going to make a little jingle or something?
Yeah.
Do-do-do.
Well, you have the... Well, I can't do that.
What was that?
I can't do it.
What were you like?
That was so awful.
That sounded like you had a wood flute. And you were leading like woodland creatures through the forest.
Stop it. La, la, la.
Yeah.
Red leather,
right,
yellow leather.
Yeah. She sells seashells by the seashore. Yeah. Are you ready?
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
I can do that way faster.
Yeah,
but let's not get into a spitting contest.
Here we go. Always close the toilet lid when you flush. Here's why.
You always do the filthy ones. Yeah, tell me. Why should I always?
All right, so I think it's safe to say that this is going to be the grossest thing you're going to hear all day. Yeah,
No.
so it's the end of a long Tuesday, and everybody needs to know that. So, and this, I have to also say, this story came to me via text from one of our podcast listeners who wanted to contribute and have something in the podcast. So they saw this story and texted me a link to it.
Hey, so please text, direct, and connect 635-4121 because we love to hear your stories.
Yes. So according to a 2013 review of studies published by the American Journal of Infection Control, it's clear that flushing your toilet with the lid wide open can threaten with potential risks.
That's going to be a fun group, those infection control guys. I'd like to see their, like...
Do you think on Fridays they wear, like, blue jean hazmat suits? They're denim.
Hey, Gary, where's your denim hazmat suit?
It's Friday, dude. It's casual Friday.
Yeah, that's exactly how they
we're
talk.
just dealing with, Zika on Fridays because it's not nearly as bad as the typhoid.
Yeah, nothing flesh eating, guys. It's Friday. I like it.
All right, so the specific act is called, it has a name.
Yeah.
The act is called toilet plume aerosols.
That actually sounds quite beautiful, like an exotic
Doesn't
bird.
it? Imagine
yeah.
purple poof.
The toilet plume bird. Yeah. I can.
It occurs during flushing. When the toilet contains feces or vomit, the flush can produce potentially infectious aerosols that will live in your bathroom for hours.
I like how they included vomit.
Yeah.
I like how they just sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So keeping your bathroom clean isn't a new idea, especially since bacteria can easily contaminate toilet seats, lids, surrounding floors, or any nearby surfaces.
So like a dense fog, it just sort of like...
Like that, you're too young to remember the movie The Day After when poof, everything just, yeah. But flushing, yeah. But
you were alone on that one. There's probably just like a sea of people like.
I saw that dead,
listening.
your dead eyes going, what? And then everybody out there that's in my age group's going, oh, remember that movie? We had to climb under our desks in school because we thought we were going to get bombed. But that's a whole nother
I'm
thing.
thinking like Apocalypse Now, like the napalm scene with
that could be.
Yeah,
with
the yellow smoke and
I
love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Okay, don't do that.
No, it's pretty good.
Can we get back to the toilet?
Yeah, sorry. Continue.
Yeah.
You were toilet. You were saying vomitus. You were saying.
So, but flushing your toilet probably isn't in your immediate list of disease-ridden activities. If anything, flushing the toilet feels like a clean activity. Here are the specifics. When you flush the toilet, some fraction of the aerosol droplets produced while flushing could contain microbes. Microbes come from infectious diseases from whatever is in that toilet bowl. Vomit and feces can contain high pathogen concentrations, such as Shigella and Salmonella, and even norovirus. These pathogens can actually survive on surfaces for weeks, even months.
Shigella.
Yeah. Research suggests that this toilet plume could play an important role in the transmission of infectious diseases for which the pathogen is shed in feces or vomit. The possible role, blah, 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 blah.
Terrible,
but,
terrible
it's pretty gross.
story.
So,
it's awful.
Yeah. But here was, when I'm reading through this going, this is so gross. This is so gross.
Ugh.
This is so cool. I'm really going to get dealing with this. This is so gross. But then I get to the last sentence.
What's the last
Or
sentence?
the last two sentences. So for future reference, you may want to start closing the lid when you flush, especially if that toilet is anywhere close to your toothbrush. I immediately got up from my spot on the sofa when I read this thing initially and removed my toothbrush from our bathroom and put it in my bedroom on my nightstand.
Oh, mine's actually in a drawer in the bathroom. So I'm safe. I've been safe this whole time.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Cleanest teeth in the office, right here. Pearly whites. Oh, watch them shine. Meanwhile, you're walking around with all sorts of Shigella.
Salmonella, Shigella, Noro.
Shigella Noro. I like that. I like these disease names.
So, yeah.
These guys are creative.
Put the lid, and and putting the lid down serves so many other purposes.
All right, let's not get into this whole argument.
I'm just saying, as a female, just put the lid down and then flush.
Yeah.
Then you have stopped having their arguments that you're not going to have.
Save your mouth and your marriage. Dun, dun, dun. This has been a public service announcement.
And so concludes your public service announcement from the River 95.3 on Another Look.
Oh, man.
So what do you have, Mr. Highlighted Passages over here?
Well, I've highlighted the important, relevant facts because, frankly, Janet, it's a tangled web we weave tonight. Can you tell I'm tired? On Another Look.
I think you have toilet mouth.
Okay, yeah, it's probably all that. Yeah. What was it? I already forgot it. Sigala? Yeah, I'm trying to talk through all the Sigala in my mouth. So basically, this story takes place, meanwhile, in Britain The UK. That's right. Another look has gone international.
Global.
Global. So, yeah. Basically, what happened was there's this, classy gentleman named Lee Ford, 45-year-old dude, in a long-term relationship with his partner, Zoe Doyle. So long-term, in fact, that she's 35 weeks pregnant. They measured it in weeks over there, I guess. That's annoying. Do the math on that for a second. What is it, 3 months?
They kind of do that here, too.
No, we do it months here.
Well, not, yeah.
What did I say, 3 months? I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute. I'm not sure
by
how
12.
Your math works. But yeah,
I don't know.
She's near full term because I think 39, 42 weeks is pretty much poppable. I say that point, as, been there, done that.
I guess that's the whatever.
Yeah, can we get back to the story?
Yeah, let's get back to the story because I don't want to get caught up in all this terrible British stuff. There's so many little British details now. So basically, what happened was all of a sudden Zoe gets a call on the phone, She picks it up. It's her partner, Lee Ford. Oh, hey, Lee. How you doing, baby? And then basically he is frantic on the phone, screaming, saying that people are demanding ransom money that have kidnapped him. And she's freaking out. Oh, my God. Then the phone clicks off. Comes back on. He's, oh, no, it clicks off again. Comes back on again. He's just like, you got to help me. Baby, you got to help me. And then she can hear the kidnappers in the background threatening to A, break his legs, B, cut off his genitals, C, I'm not making this up, this is in the story, C, throw boiling water over him. All sorts of awful stuff. Zoe, naturally, pregnant lady, freaking out. So, she starts a major 24-hour police operation because she calls the cops and says he is being threatened right now. He just called me on his phone. They're going to put boiling water over him. So the police get into it. And they do this major operation. A helicopter is involved. All these police officers. An alert goes out. It's nuts.
It's like something right out of Criminal Minds or SWAT.
Or Law and Order.
In England. No. Britain. Law and Order would never fall for this nonsense.
No,
but go ahead.
It's ridiculous. All of Britain is going nuts. All of those jolly, old governors in England. And it does. The kidnappers, meanwhile, are saying, oh, you better give us all your money. You better wire it to this account. You better do it right now, or we're gonna cut off his genitals. They're just like freaking out over there. So Zoe's like, okay, she transferred all the money she had. Turned out to be 80 quid into his bank account.
So is that like 12 cents our dollars? I mean, I have no idea what quid is.
I don't know either, but that's what it is.
Is that seafood?
It doesn't sound like a lot, does it? 80 quid. 80 clams.
All right, you keep talking. I'm going to Google now what quid is.
Yeah, so she transfers all that in there. So meanwhile, the helicopter, and they also brought a trained negotiator along for this whole thing. The whole thing cost them 30,000 quid. Which again, we're going to get an estimate on what that means. The equivalent currency is jelly beans. So basically, the helicopter catches footage of him leaving a shop with two friends, her boyfriend, carrying bottles of booze. The entire phone call was staged, all three of them. He just wanted her to give him some money and give him the night off so he could have drinks with, as the article puts it, his mates. So that was the entire thing. Meanwhile, 30,000 whole jelly beans have been spent on this massive operation, helicopter hostage negotiator. Everyone is just angry as can be. They ended up jailing him for 16 weeks over this. But the craziest thing of all is after he was caught by police with drinks in his hands with the guys that had been on the phone making the fake threats to him that had freaked his girlfriend out so much, he still denied the story when he was in the interrogation room. Prosecutor Pam Smith said Ford had continued to lie after being caught by police until he was confronted with video evidence. I'm just imagining the helicopter shot of him walking out of a liquor store with 80 quid in his pocket. Well, probably 60 quid because I assume liquor there costs 20 jelly beans. Do you have a currency calculator for us yet?
So how many quid did she have?
She had 80 quid to her name. So he did.
All right. So hang on because this number is going to shock you because I put the wrong number in. So hang on.
Here we go.
80 quid
is
the equivalent to $103.37.
All right, so not a lot different, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, poor girl doesn't have much to her name, and she got a baby on the way. She's got worries. Lee.
So now I'm going to Google, all right, How much bourbon will $103 buy?
In Britain. Because they probably tax that more than we do.
Yeah, so let's just see. Let's see if Google has the answer to that one.
We're doing our research here. Oh, who knows?
Yeah.
Can we estimate that?
It could be, who knows. So let's see. What does Google say? American whiskey is a go-go.
What?
Yeah. Now there are all kinds of things like, the best whiskeys you can't buy in the U.S. Ooh, I need to go there. You can get higher proof whiskeys and wow.
So basically this story has turned into Janet planning her weekend.
That is exactly what it is turned into. I'm thinking,
man.
yes, I do have to stop because, I ordered my groceries earlier on Walmart because I'm one of those people now. So all I have to do is pull around back, check in on the app, and they put it in the car, which does leave me some time to go to the liquor store, which is across the street, the Target shopping center, which is then going to lead to a mocha at Starbucks.
That's about
and probably some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and it's going to be, I'm going to be fat and happy by the time, and not drunk, but I'll be drunk when I get home because, I don't do that.
That's as far as your nose can get in the air in the Shenandoah Valley, is when you pull up with swagger to the Walmart, clap your hands. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And the poor Walmart kid lugs your groceries.
First time it ever happened, guy came out. You're gonna appreciate this.
Yeah.
Recognized my voice.
Oh my! You are so full of yourself.
Yeah, he listened to the show. His son had been on the show at some point, and they love me at the Walmart.
And with that, I think we should wrap up this episode on that positive thought that Janet has Walmart fame.
So, but here's what we need to know. So this was a trial run. We're assuming they're going to let us come back and do this again next Tuesday, but we need feedback.
Yeah.
So send a text, 635-4121, and let us know, did you like the show? Did you not like the show? Do you have stupid news you think we should include in the future? Is there something you think we could do better? Something you think we shouldn't do at all?
Hey, we're open to suggestions.
We got to take this back to the bosses because we're trying to, get a point where we could actually do this on the air on a regular basis. But for now, you're just going to have to go look at the 17 podcast episodes on our website.
Just soak them in.
Yeah.
Just soak them in. It's good stuff. And we have fun doing it, which it really energizes us.
Yep. We're exhausted when we start and giddy with excitement when we finish.
Exactly. Because that's what we're all about here. On Another Look, we'll come back next week with some more news. We're going to look at news from across the Shenandoah Valley over the course of that week. We're going to see what happened. We're going to see if any of these stories have developed. I doubt the charges, or the investigation, rather, against Mayor Tharp will have developed by that point, but maybe it will. That's one of those developing stories we'll keep our eye on over the course of the month.
Maybe by then you'll get to talk to Ben Klein and you'll have that episode.
That's right. We're going to talk to more political candidates by then, I hope. So we'll have all that and more. We'll give it all a mention when we come back next week with some more Another Look. Thanks for listening.